I hope everyone enjoyed lunch. We want to thank Reply for the lunch, and welcome to our session on mobile. We have about an hour here, so we got a good hour in store for you. We're going to hear from Surajit Chatterjee at Google, and also James Price at Dex Media, and then we're also going to have a surprise guest a little bit later, and we'll unveil who that is in just a bit. But first, what I want to do is go over a few of the major trends and opportunities that we see in mobile at BI Kelsey. That involves a lot of forecast data, a lot of our SMB survey data, and just our general analysis, just to really set the stage for the speakers that are going to come up next. So I should also say that everything we're going over in the next hour is a good representative sample of all the stuff that myself and my colleagues at BI Kelsey look at on a day-to-day basis. So if you're interested in working with us, the best contact is my colleague, Steve Passwaiter, and he can be reached at spasswaiter@bikelsey.com, and he can solve all your problems, and there's a million ways we can work together, all kind of revolving around business intelligence. So let's get right into the data. So I think that the best way to start is by looking at some of the usage data, and this is all just kind of basic foundational stuff. I think we're all in agreement that mobile's a big opportunity, but just to kind of lay the groundwork, right now, a snapshot of where we are is that mobile smartphone penetration is currently at about 60% in the US. 20% of search is mobile, and 50% of those searches have local intent. And to give you an idea of how that compares, on the desktop, that's only about 20%. So clearly mobile has a lot of ties to location in the location awareness of the device, the use case of being on the go and the immediacy, and the intent of users, just clearly skews more local. So that's kind of the foundation of the opportunity. So that's led to a lot of overall search usage. This is a Mary Meeker slide you may have seen before that shows that mobile, its share of time spent with media is 12% when compared with print, radio, internet, and TV. However, the challenge here is that the ad dollars have not caught up with it. So mobile's share of ad dollars when compared to those same media is only 3%. So that's a challenge in that really boils down to an oversupply of ad inventory if you consider the 12% as kind of the supply side of the equation and all of the usage happening out there. And what this kind of equates to is that, like in any situation where there's oversupply, prices go down. So we certainly see that happen in mobile. Right now, eCPMs on the desktop are about 5x what they are in mobile. And that's actually great if you're an advertiser because you have access to undervalued inventory. But for companies that are local media companies, app developers, anyone building products that they wish to monetize through ad support, this is actually a downside in that the monetization opportunity is mitigated. Now, the upside to this is we believe this will turn around based on a lot of kind of behavior we're seeing in mobile's ability to drive engagement, lots of premium sources of ad inventory in mobile that we believe will grow. And one of those that we like to zero in on is location. So these are our forecast data. Showing that in the US, mobile ad revenue last year was at $3.25 billion, going up to almost $17 billion in 2017. But more interestingly, in this particular breakout, we've looked at the slice of that overall pie that's devoted to location-targeted mobile campaigns. That last year was 38%. We see that growing to 54% by 2017. And some of the things driving that are just kind of the usage realities that I mentioned earlier. A lot of mobile search, a lot of mobile behavior has local intent. But also more so than that, this dollar share shift is going to come about through higher premiums on location-targeted campaigns. That's really just kind of a function of their higher performance that we're already seeing play out to a large degree. So Google has reported that 73% of mobile searches trigger additional actions and conversions, and we're talking about things like visiting a store, making a purchase, or calling a business. Clearly local actions, tangible and trackable actions, and highly valued actions to a lot of advertisers. Interestingly, not just the frequency of these events, but its speed. Very interestingly, Google has announced that 55% of purchase-related conversions are happening within 1 hour of the initial search. So what that tells me is that it's a great opportunity to get in front of users where they are indeed lower funnel. They're an hour away from a conversion. Their ability to be kind of influenced at that key moment is I think a large opportunity that many advertisers are catching on to kind of close that gap I mentioned earlier between mobile usage and mobile ad dollars. Further in support of location targeting and the performance deltas that can be expected from that, Millennial Media showed me this recently, which shows that in terms of click-through rates, an experiment they did across a number of different cities, when they targeted campaigns on a hyperlocal level, it consistently outperformed the broader campaigns that were targeted on more of a city or DMA level. XAD, likewise, is reporting that click-through rates on their network that from campaigns that are location targeted are showing pretty favorable performance metrics, but more so than the click is what's happening after the click. 36% of those clicks are engaging in what we call secondary actions. So these are things like making a phone call, launching directions, and things that again are highly trackable and valued by a number of different kind of categories of advertisers, especially local advertisers. So that's kind of the usage end. We're indeed seeing a lot of advertiser behavior pick up because of these realities and kind of close that gap that I mentioned earlier. XAD is showing that on their network, location-targeted ads year over year have gone from 27% of all the campaigns on their network up to 58%. Millennial Media likewise reports that on their network, the number of campaigns they're running that include store locators as part of the ad copy or as part of the click-through, 19% of those campaigns have store locators. If you segment out retail and restaurants, it's as high as 44%. So this also brings up another kind of side point, which is when we talk about location targeting, there are a lot of different flavors to that. It can be the kind of targeting component of the ad placement itself, using the mobile device's location signals such as GPS. So where the ad shows up, that's important. But also what the ad contains is something that's often ignored. What are the calls to action? What is the ad copy? And making those kind of components be grounded in location relevance. And that's what we're starting to see happen more and more as advertisers are evolving into kind of meeting users halfway in the way that they're behaving and consuming mobile content. Now, another point here is that among all of this adoption, most of it is actually brand advertisers and agencies or franchise-based businesses, the larger national advertisers that are targeting at a local level. The forecast data I showed earlier that showed location-targeted campaigns, that includes both large advertisers, SMBs, mid-market, the common element really being the fact that the campaign itself is targeted, so the size of the advertiser doesn't matter. And right now, it really is a lot of those larger advertisers that are the early adopters, and like a lot of other things, it starts with them and then trickles down to the SMB marketplace. So, with respect to the SMBs, where are they in all of this? They're still kind of lagging somewhat behind. One example is mobile websites and their adoption of that. Despite all of the traffic that we see in local search, and a lot of that is kind of landing on SMB pages, there is still less than 5% of SMB websites that are optimized for mobile. So that really represents, again, somewhat of a gap between what users are doing and what advertisers are doing. And I think that's a great opportunity. We heard Raj from Microsoft earlier talk about this opportunity. We're going to talk about it a little bit later in this session about really that kind of under-optimized experience that you see all too often with mobile websites. So this is just one element. There are a lot of different flavors of SMB mobile presence, different formats of advertising. Just having a website is just one of them. So let's go into a few examples of what the other things that SMBs are doing. The next series of slides is from our Local Commerce Monitor survey. This is a survey of small businesses. And this really shows over the last year over year, what are small businesses doing in terms of the types of formats they're adopting in mobile. So you see some downward trends with things such as mobile apps and mobile banners and display ads, things that are more or less kind of more static. But you see some uptick in things like mobile search. I'm not very surprised by that. Location-aware mobile campaigns and things like mobile deals that advertisers are seeing a lot more tangible ROI in. What else are they doing? Check-in information from things such as Foursquare, claiming Foursquare listings and using that check-in data, launching campaigns around that. We saw that actually 22% of our sample said that they're now doing it, and an additional 12%, an additional 54%, a large chunk of the sample said that they intend to within the next year. So what are they doing? They're monitoring for information about the customers that are checking into their business and understanding more about them to kind of iterate their ongoing marketing. So it really tells me that SMBs are inclined to use some of this data to kind of improve their ongoing marketing and using kind of mobile behavior as something that is a key kind of signal in what they continue to do in their marketing. Here's another separate question we asked them: use of barcodes. This surprised me. This was more than I thought it would be, and very interesting about what we can expect to come. 29% of SMBs are actually providing barcodes, either in their marketing materials through different forms of distribution, or just kind of on the premises somewhere in their store window, and that's generally to communicate information about the business or to distribute deals, promotions, and other things. So this is an area very much worth watching more. Here's another one. So I just put out a paper on mobile payments. I mentioned this yesterday. Great opportunity for SMBs to not only do things like easily accept payments from a mobile device with things like mobile card readers, but also a lot of kind of operational efficiencies. That's been a theme so far, brought up in the first session yesterday, and I think really kind of continually repeated, which is that the opportunity to go deeper in SMB relationships with not just advertising, but operational products and SaaS-based products. And a lot of the things happening at the point of sale and mobile payments really tie in well with that. So what we asked in our most recent LCM survey is, are you using a mobile credit card reader at the point of sale? 40% of our respondents said yes. And if you add the ones that say they're going to do it in the next 12 months, it bumps it up to 56%. And of course, that next 12 months is an aspirational figure, but I believe an interesting proxy to pay attention to in terms of their adoption. And I think this is also interesting because whether or not you're working in mobile payments, anyone in the local media ecosystem should be paying attention to this because of the kind of attribution, closed loop kind of data set that can be discerned from a lot of the things happening in the mobile payments world. Really, I think touches everyone in mobile media because I think that it's really kind of a closed loop. It can bring about a cycle and a feedback loop for doing a lot of interesting things at the front end, the demand generation that we're all kind of working on in terms of advertising, marketing, and presence. This creates a trackable path to conversion in terms of attribution, in terms of analytics, to see what's working. So this is an area very much worth watching. If you're interested in the paper I just put out, please email me. So kind of panning back and looking forward, what are the things that SMBs want to do, first of all, what is their priority for integrating mobile marketing in the next 12 months? 37% of our sample rated it among one of the two top boxes in our survey, either very or extremely high in terms of priority going forward. How does that 37% stack up against other media? It's actually not as high as social or search or others, but we definitely see an uptick in terms of interest and adoption among SMBs, and something to continue to watch. And then also, so a follow-on question, this is your priority, so what types of mobile ad formats are you interested in working with? Mobile search was actually the single highest mobile format that SMBs are reporting to us that they want to work with. And this didn't surprise me at all, going back to a lot of the data I showed earlier, going back to the fact that search is a very intent-driven activity, especially in mobile, and some of the conversion metrics that I showed earlier. We're very bullish on search, and also because of the fact that I believe strongly that the mobile web is going to take off as a medium, as opposed to the kind of app-centric world we now live in. And mobile search is very much inherent in mobile web, and that's kind of where search lives in kind of a browser-based experience that, again, we believe is going to grow. So that leads me to this next kind of chapter of my presentation, and a good segue to Sergi, which is enhanced campaigns. We believe that Google's enhanced campaigns is really going to accelerate the adoption curve for a lot of the things I just mentioned. Enhanced campaigns, of course, federates campaigns across desktop, mobile, and tablet, and I think that's really going to accelerate the adoption curve of all kinds of businesses, but especially SMBs, into mobile. That's going to improve the economies that I mentioned earlier, supply and demand. There's going to be more bid pressure in a lot of search marketplaces, and CPCs will go up. And I think that's good for a lot of people in this room. A lot of people have painted this as kind of a Google-centric move because CPCs will go up. There could be some degree of truth to that, but I think more so on an industry level, this has a lot of implications for the adoption curve for small businesses and really bringing them into the world that they need to be in anyway. This kind of multi-device, multi-screen world where the path to purchase goes in and out of all of these different screens. Being present across all of them is very important. And I think Google's doing a good job kind of pushing the buy side of the equation into that. And I think as a result, something that will be good for all of us. This is a quote from our good friend at Marchex, John Busby, and I fully agree with it, which is that not only the adoption curve will accelerate, but SMB's kind of level of savvy at working with mobile and understanding how to kind of do things like drive telephone calls if that's their goal, or other just kind of tactical level things with search and with mobile search. So we believe that's going to happen. I think that's going to be good for everyone, a more educated and a more adoptive SMB universe. And I think enhanced campaigns will kind of help us get there faster. So with that said, I'm going to introduce and welcome to the stage Surajit Chatterjee. Surajit's actually been on our stage a number of times, and the timing is actually great now because enhanced campaigns actually just kicked in just over a month ago. He's been with it since the beginning, from inception phases to execution to where it is now, and we welcome him here. Please join me in welcoming Surajit.